Did vampires settle in the mountains of North Carolina? Let's find out what goes bump in the night in the small town of Dillsboro. Is that one? Hey everyone, welcome to Bump in the Night. And today we are in Dillsboro, North Carolina. It's about 15 miles outside of Cherokee for those of you who would like to come visit. And we're going to talk about vampires. So this story takes place between the years of 1788 and 1789, when the Alford family, a very wealthy foreign family, moves to Dillsboro. Now, the people welcomed the Alford family at first because the patriarch, Dr. Alford, opened a medical practice in his home. But things started going wrong when two men who went to Dr. Alford to find a cure for gout ended up dying pretty shortly after they visited the good doctor. Now, this sent people into kind of an uproar because apparently these two men were very respected and were well liked in the community. But there was a minister in town who was able to calm things down for people, kind of bring them back to reality and say, it's not the doctor's fault, it's not Dr. Alford's fault. It is 1788, we're dying from literally everything, so let's cut them a break. After this, in the spring of 1788, that very same minister who stood up for Dr. Alford, his daughter was found dead. And not just from anything, but she had 2 puncture marks in her neck. Now, I don't know how well versed the people of Dillsboro in 1788 were on vampires, but it certainly shook things up, considering this was the minister's daughter. But things settled down until the fall of 1788, when a young boy ran from his home to find his grandfather and tell his grandfather that he was being, well, not him, but his family was being attacked. The grandfather followed the boy back to his house and saw a black figure kind of hovering over the boy's parents. And the black figure left the house out of the window and was not seen, but the boy's parents and his 2 sisters, a 9-year-old and a 3-year-old, were all dead. Again, puncture marks in their neck. By this time, the town started seeing a pattern and went into a uproar to find what they believed were vampires killing off their community members. A party went out with their farming equipment and guns to find this vampire. Now, they say that a giant bat was seen flying in the sky. We're talking a person-sized bat, not just big for a bat, but big for anything. Other than that one sighting of a bat, not much else happened until the winter of 1789. During this time, a group of people were outside, probably, doing what you would do in the winter, maybe making sure they had enough firewood, what have you. But they heard a scream come from a house in the community. The people immediately ran towards the scream and went into the house where a mother was seeing a black figure hovering over her daughter. And the black figure burst out of the house and went straight to the home of the Alford family. They investigated the daughter. She was dead with puncture marks in her neck. And now they knew, or had a good idea, of who was doing these attacks. So they went to the Alford house. They banged on the door. Dr. Alford refused to come out of his house. So they bust the door open, dragged him out, tied him to a tree in his front yard, and investigated the house to find the rest of his family. So they went upstairs to the bedrooms, but the beds were still made. No one had been sleeping in there. And remember, this is happening at nighttime when people should be asleep. They searched around the house, went to the basement where they found 3 coffins. They opened them. One was empty. They opened the other one. There was Dr. Alford's wife sleeping in her coffin. Apparently she hissed and screamed at them. And they dragged her out, tied her to the same tree, and went back in, investigated the 3rd coffin, found nothing. So they tried the Alford family right there in their front yard, found them guilty of basically being vampires, and did what anyone in 1788 would know what to do. They hung them from a tree, threw the bodies back into the house, burnt the house down, and basically forgot it ever happened. But the interesting part of this story is that there was one more Alford, 15-year-old son, who was never found or seen again. So this is where that story ends and my investigation starts. I want to know what happened to the teenage Alford boy. I want to know where the house is, where the tree is, and if these stories of vampires in Dillsboro, North Carolina are real. Come with me. We are at a bridge to cross the Tuckasegee River. On this side is the town of Dillsboro, and on this side not much. So we are going to cross this bridge and see if we can find the foundation of the Alford house. Okay, we kind of have a little walking path here, which hopefully will take us where we need to go. Now, I'll have you guys know, I really don't know where I'm going. The story didn't give much to go on other than they built their house on the banks of the Tuckasegee River. And this was well over 200 years ago. We're talking, 230 years ago. So I might not find anything. Alright, so I've come to a clearing that obviously is fairly new, but it's the first piece of kind of flat ground that I've been able to find since exploring the banks of the Tuckasegee. So I have a suspicion that there might be something down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk. Be very careful because it's kind of muddy. Oh gosh, almost fell. No big deal. Alright, I think we found something. This is a very overgrown area within the flat part of that place I was talking to you about near the Tuckasegee. I mean, pretty much right on. I don't know if you can hear it in the background, but this kind of came out of nowhere. This big section here of overgrown area that I'm gonna explore and see if we can come up on anything. And no, this is not trees. These are like weeds and grass that are literally up to my head. So let's see what we can find in these. Ow, ow, thorns, 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 thorns. As I've been walking through here, I haven't really thought about the fact that I can't really see my feet. As you can see, it goes down real deep. Yeah, the snakes, this is the time for the snakes to come out. It's not cold anymore, so Didn't think about that. New update. I think I see a tree. I don't know if you can see it. I mean, this is the first old tree that I've seen since I've been walking around in thorns and snake infested roughage. Let's get a closer look. Was this the tree that Dr. Alford and his wife were tied to and then hung from? Could have been that branch. So I've been walking around the tree, and no joke, I mean, I've been telling this story all night, so I could be inside my own head right now, but I kid you not, I heard what sounded like rope tightening, like, you know, that kind of creaking sound that rope makes when you tighten it around something. I swear I heard that, and there's no rope anywhere around here. Let me see if I can get you a good shot of the tree here. So I'm standing under the tree. I'm just listening. Sorry, I'm not meaning for there to be dead air, but oh, that was weird. I think it's time for me to get out and put a wrap on this one. So we'll come back with final thoughts. I'm back home. Other than quite a few thorn scratches and slips in the mud, all is well. But my final thoughts on this story. It's very interesting. It's very cool that a story like this exists in a place that I call home. And as interesting as the story is, it's tough to say whether or not it actually happened. The story dates back so long ago that it's hard to find any proof. Now, I will say, my mind could have been racing, but that tree did seem off for the amount of clearing that was out there. I mean, there was nothing but head-high weeds, and then all of a sudden this giant tree is just out there. So could that have been the tree where Dr. Alford and his wife lost their lives after being hung? We'll never know. But with that said, that sound of that rope tightening was frightening. Take that as you will. That will do it for this episode of Bump in the Night. Thank you for joining me. If you like this, please subscribe, share, comment. Let me know if there's any more places you would like me to go. And I'll see you next time. Thanks.